want to kind of get into something. And maybe this is just a very simple thing. It's about reconciling the fact that there are errors and mistakes. We make errors, we make mistakes, we do things wrong. And then this concept that I have about being perfect. It's the same thing with the issue of God. You have faith. What people say is that we should have faith. Have faith in God. Have faith in God. And I do. I really do. I have faith in God. I have faith that God is good and that all that God stands for is good. And everything about God is good. And what does that mean? I don't know. But I was thinking about this thing. I was flipping through this book on... it wasn't about religion. It was about something else. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was about. I think it was philosophy. About existentialism, as a matter of fact. That's what it was about. It was a book about existentialism. And it was just mentioning the fact that, there are two basic... And I like what it said, too, because it said something very interesting. It said that there are two orientations. I think that was the word that they say. And I like that, orientations, about things in existentialism. The one is the dominant orientation, is the atheistic orientation. Because people like Jean-Paul Sartre and others were atheists. They didn't believe in God. But not all existentialists were atheists. People like Kierkegaard, he was not an atheist. But most existentialists are. They don't have a place for God. But I like the word orientation because it almost reminds me of when people talk about sexual orientation. Or one could talk about one's spiritual orientation or one's faith orientation or lack thereof. But there is an orientation. I see, that word is an interesting word to me. Orientation. One's perspective on things. We take a God perspective, a God created the universe perspective. God created the universe and God created everything in it, and God created me, and I accept that as being true. And I feel as strong on that point as a homosexual feels on the point that he's homosexual. Everything I ever heard about gay people talking about being gay, which I'm not, but everything they talk about is like, I knew from the time I was a kid, and this, that, and the other. Well, I knew I was a believer from the time I was a kid, before I even read the Bible. Before I ever read the first verse in the Bible, I knew that I was a believer. I could say that. Why not? Why not say that? Why not take that perspective? Why not say I had a believer's orientation? Maybe it is that way. Maybe our orientation is just like when people are homosexual or heterosexual. You just have this orientation. It's just a coincidence at times when your family teaches you things and you happen to be that. But let's think about it. There are people who are atheists who grew up in Christian homes or Muslim homes or Buddhist homes or whatever. And you became a person who just didn't have that type of orientation. See, I think that's the thing. We all develop an orientation. See, I think that in reality, we can take the God orientation, but let's get into this thing. Existentialism is this belief that basically you have to trust yourself. I think that, one could say that Emerson, even though Emerson wasn't really an existentialist, I think that basically he was in a way. Have faith in yourself, believe in yourself. And I think a lot of people can think, like I do, that, faith in yourself really in essence is faith in God. It is the same thing. Not that myself and God, that I'm God, but it's that it is the same thing. Because if you have faith, look, it's kind of like even in normal everyday without, if you could just subtract the religious aspects of it. If you were going to jump out of an airplane, you have faith. in the manufacturer of this parachute, the people who put it together, whoever packed this parachute. Because if you got enough faith to jump out of that plane with that parachute, pull the ripcord, and the thing unfurls, you have faith in whoever created this thing, whoever put it together, and maybe faith in several people, not just the manufacturers, which may be several people on an assembly line, the person who packed it and everything else. And even the inventor of the parachute, you got faith in that. People would say, well, that's not a matter of faith. I would say it is. And I'm not going to argue about it. You have faith in God when you have faith in yourself. You are God's creation. And everything in the universe, God created. And God created your ability to create other things. Gave you the capacity to create. That's a matter of faith. You trust in it. You trust in God. You trust in the Lord. You trust in yourself. I don't see a separation. When I trust myself, I'm trusting God. I trust God created perfect me in a perfect world where things work perfect and where my nature is perfect, like Emerson says. See, I love Emerson's stuff because Emerson really gets at a kind of religion that can be embraced by people who of faith, who believe in God in a traditional sense of it, and people who don't believe in God. You can be an atheist and really get into Emerson. You could be of any religious persuasion. And you don't have to use words like God. You know, to me, God is just a word that refers to, as far as I'm concerned, an experience that I have. And I think that one of the things they were talking about in this thing about the existentialism is that basically religious people, the religious existentialists, in some ways one could even argue, if you wanted to, you could make a good argument that in some way they were atheists. Because they were basically saying that you have to, it's really the experience. God isn't a thing. See, God isn't an object. Even if God were an object itself means nothing. It really doesn't. You know, even an object of any kind doesn't mean anything. It's the experience. The experience of it. You know, if you have a nice car, a car is a thing, it's an object. But it isn't the thing, the object. It's the experience. It's how you feel about it. How do you feel? How do you feel? What are you experiencing? What is in your consciousness? That's what counts. If you met God, it wouldn't be the person, the thing, the entity, whatever it looked like, whether it was a burning bush or it looked like, you know, George Burns. It doesn't matter. It's what you would experience. It's not the form. It's the experience. And to me, the very essence of God is the experience. If I experience the presence of God, I may not see anything. It may not be anything I'm taking in through my senses. I just feel that God is with me. The Lord is with me. To me, that's the very essence of it. That's what's at the heart of it, the experience. And people don't get that. It just seems strange to me that people just don't get that. Whether they're believers or whether they're atheists. They don't get that. That's what's at the heart of it.